farmers, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, over me hills to folk country, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. There are a lot of stories happening in our country, Liberia. We're going to be looking at some of the major stories taking place, and what we're going to learn from those stories is what do these all mean? Number one, Liberia's government flagship the development program under scrutiny as the International Monetary Fund warns of implementation risk after the shutdown of USAID. Also, number two, Liberia War Crimes Court Office submits long-awaited bills to Justice Minister amid dispute with civil society. Liberia ex-Defense Minister Samukai, Brownie J. Samukai, calls for fiscal discipline and eyes 2029 political comeback. NSA Director Special Assistant dismissed after alleging gang sodomy of 15-year-old authorities remains silent. Liberia, China signed 100 million agreement. Court shuts down LEC headquarters after $309,000 unpaid debt. Last but not the least, the Rachel Moderator saga deepens as Cecilia Paul Cohn sues Magdala Cooper for $3.5 million USD. Based on those stories, I am asking the question, and I think Liberia is at a crossroad. What I want us to look at is the ramification, why these things are happening. For instance, why do we have a situation where the speaker is in this kind of Moderator thing? Was he not properly vetted to be able to come to all these? Liberia signed $100 million agreement. The foreign ministry is doing it. So I want us to talk about the political culture, the institutional integrity, and our national values. Let me welcome Alice Wilson Momba. Welcome to the show, Alice.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman, the man whose name is synonymous to diplomacy. Welcome, Jimmy.
Glad to be here, Dennis.
It is almost impossible to discuss anything politics without the political bulldog, Mr. Anthony Sear. Welcome, Mr. Sear.
Dennis, thank you. It's good to be here. Great topics, and we have to look at them critically with national insight. I'm glad to be here.
Talking about national insight, I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Anyone wishing to benefit from the discussion, please don't hesitate to join in to share the show invite someone and let's discuss. So the first story here, Liberia's flagship development program faces financial crisis after the USA shutdown. You know, the United States is also pulling out from other institutions, and we don't know what that may mean for Liberia. So the IMF is warning Liberia that the $8.4 billion investment target is unrealistic, which is unrealistic without external aid. Jimmy, are we supposed to be worried about this warning?
The warning about the
About that, our financing the arrest agenda. Remember the $8.4 billion we're going to use?
yeah.
Right. So USAID is saying, with usage shut down. I mean, IMF is saying with usage shut down because we are not able to fund this without external money coming in.
You know, Dennis, this reminds me while we were back in school. You know, you can go and concoct any kind of story and theory you want, but when people talk about implementing something, we want to see how we get from A to B to Z. And if you cannot show a clear path that how that thing where you claim will be realized, you will get F. So yeah, it was very ambitious, but there is no clear path how we would get it. A lot of stuff we're doing with foreign, borrowing and all that sort of. So IMF look at it in a long time. They say we don't see how you would get from year to year. It looks imaginary, like you think something is going to happen, and that's why they are concerned with it. A true economist. I don't want to bug anybody, but a true economist knows he has to show exactly how he will realize this $8 billion from the agenda. And when you fail to do so, just like our teachers used to do, they put F on your paper or give you a D because you have not shown how you would get from A to B. And that's what's going on with that whole agenda. It just, but there's no details. It's nitty gritty. When the rubber meets the road, how will you get there? And so that's what seems to be lacking. It's good for our own consumption, for local consumption in Liberia. Because Liberians, they would say, oh yeah, we'll do, we'll get that. We'll build this. But for somebody who is looking, those bean crunchers and stuff like that, they're looking at every penny, and they say, no, we don't see it happening. How do you imagine it's going to be? I remember it's not that you can't have ambitious plans. I remember Kwame Nkrumah wanted to borrow billions for that dam, the Kusumba Dam, and IMF then look at it and said, man, how you pay for all that? He said, I will pay for it. He said, we see it. So what did he do? He landed a deal with the steel company who were going to be smelting a whole lot of steel, bauxite, and whatnot to make steel and iron. And so once he concentrated that deal, they said, okay, these people are going to consume terawatts of power. So they would be and they would pay for it. And they say, yeah, now we see how you would get that money. We'll give you the money. And he secured the deal. But when you haven't done that, they were not going to, it's just going to be bogus. And they're not going to look at it. And they give you F.
Thank you. Alice, with the usage shutdown and Sweden's withdrawal, how can we realistically, fund the arrest or the AAID, which is the arrest agenda for development, without getting into debt? In my village, they say, if you're not able to carry the load, don't put your cattle near it. So So we already said we have this arrest agenda. We're going to use $8.4 billion to fund it. Now the places where we're depending on use it is no longer there. Sweden withdraw. Do you think we can still do it?
Well, looking at the history of Liberia and even in recent times, I would tell you that it is very difficult, if not impossible, to carry out the agenda when everything that centers around that ambitious agenda was all about borrowing. You cannot make plan on somebody else's back. So, like Grandpa always say, you have to cut your coat according to your measurement. Even if you're going to borrow from somebody, you're looking at minimum so that if the person lets you down, you will still be able to do something. But if your whole budget is depending on borrowing, it makes it very difficult when a person withdraws or for some reason something happened, like what happened now. The world is dynamic. Things, other natural disaster or different things happen. Okay? And so when you have kind of unexpected changes, then your plan has failed because it was depending on somebody else's. And this is the situation that the government finds itself in. We borrow, but then we live lavishly. How can you borrow and then you go in a store and buy expensive clothes? This is not your own income. Our salaries are very huge when things that we plan to do, even the salary alone, could have paid for some of these things. But this is not going to happen because we apportion part of the budget to own salaries. And now most of the developmental areas that were earmarked cannot be done because the USAID and other organizations that we depended on as a government will not deliver anymore. How can we go forward with this? It's not going to work. They're going to re-strategize. Even with new strategy, the plan is not going to still work because this is a lot of money we're talking about. It's not a couple of thousands of dollars. We're talking about millions. So saying something without solid plan on how you're going to achieve it, but depending on another person is where we are today. And hopefully, as a country, we're going to learn from that. So that next time when we're doing our budget, we'll be able to look at our own resources and see how we're going to do certain things, how we're going to implement certain part of the projects that we want to do, as opposed to depending on foreign sources to be able to fund our projects. So yes, then it's to cut everything short. I'll tell you that it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for the arrest agenda to be fully implemented.
Thank you. Let me welcome Elvis Morris and Dr. Clarence Pearson, who is having some challenges joining us. Welcome, Elvis.
Thank you, Mr. John. Hello to the fellow panelists.
Thank you, Mr. Sia. When we say that this money to finance the arrest agenda was unrealistic in the first place, if that's the case, what do we do now?
Yeah, then there's I like both ideas. Then the figure 8.4 billion between now and 2029 was what the government budgeted as a total volume of money they will use for the arrest agenda for inclusive development. Is that money too much money? No. I will even say it's a drop in the bucket if you look at the needs of our country. The issue there is you cannot entirely depend on another person to raise this money. I strongly feel that as a country, we have to find a way to increase our capacity to be able to generate 20 billion or 10 billion yearly and commit a significant amount of that money to public sector investment. But if you look at our budget, now we're talking about 1.2 billion, 75% of that budget gone to recurring expenses. On the recurring expenses, we're talking about that cars, that gas for the big shop for the most part, how to run the government, their generators and all that. This is what we have been doing from day one. Then it is a terrible calculation that you plan. I mean, it's like somebody in Liberia, and I don't fault these people, and I also fault them because you are in a tight position. You want to get married, you're not working, but you want to get married. And so what do? You are depending on friends and family in the United States and other places calling on them. And then at the same time, you want to have a traditional wedding. At the same time, the women mentality has gotten hold of you. So when you have the traditional wedding that is good enough for you, you feel that it's not even good enough. You want to have the Western one. You don't even have a job. You want to marry the woman 2 times, the traditional wedding and the Western wedding. If you don't do the Western wedding, you're not human being. At the end of the day, people you're looking up to, if they too having their own responsibility cannot fulfill whatever commitment or promise they made to you, then your wedding will not go as planned. This is the situation of our country, Dennis. And I want our leaders to listen. And we have to really do a serious soul searching here. I told you we're going to have a national insight about this. You plan $8.4 billion budget between now and 2020. 2 years gone ever. We're talking 4 years now. Your current budget now is at 1.2 billion. So how do you end? You're talking about recurring expenses about what? 75%. That is over 990 million plus to run your operation. So where do you get the money from to carry on this investment that you want to make? Obviously, it has been the IMF, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and then you start talking to the United States, and they don't even engage the United States. They're waiting for what America will be able to offer. That is how our governments have operated over the years. They are waiting for what China is willing to offer. It is not that they have a plan. It is not that they have, a strategy how to encourage these big government to come and invest in Liberia so that Liberia can benefit and generate the kind of revenue that we need. So to sum it up, then if you look at our little airport we have, foreigners give us money. The ministerial complex we boast about, foreigners give us money. The road to RIA we're talking about, foreigners give us money. Today, we focus on Liberia Carolina. The finance minister was touring some projects. And as I listened to the finance minister, he was saying, we'll secure some money from the Kuwaiti people, from these other people, from the Arab people. How can we be borrowing? Are these people going to other people to secure funding for the projects they want to implement? No. So then it brings us to what we're sitting on, the gold mines we're sitting on, the diamond mines we're sitting on, the oil we're sitting on, the talents that we possess. Why can't we turn these things into a means of generating significant revenue? So that is our problem. So it is not realistic to answer your question, and that's where we are right now.
Thank you. And if we go back, Elvis, I'm coming to you. If we go back 3-4 years from now, before we have what we coin here has 2 economics. Every time Samuel Tuer talk as the finance minister, you will talk of IMF, World Bank say this, this other person say this. With all this money, let me come to you, Elvis. What do you think it as Liberia? What is it that we are selling? Because as you secure the money, like Anthony was saying, we want this money, we want this money. What is it that we are selling to bring in this money? Or what should we be selling, Elvis? You are muted, sir.
Yeah, really what we sell is sympathy. We try to sell sympathy to to these countries. So we came from war. We're trying. We're one of the most stable democracy in the region. We show sympathy and and drive those stories. But here's an opportunity for us coming up here. There is a streamer, a young streamer called I Show Speed. He have almost 50 million subscribers on YouTube. A young Black American kid who is going to be visiting Liberia very soon. He's doing a tour across Africa. He's been in the southern part of Africa, and he's well received. He's very popular. A lot of African Americans are really surprised of the ongoings of the continent. And some of us who are on that online space, it's really been uplifting. He's coming to Liberia. You're going to have at least a minimum of 2 million people watching, and maybe even more. The history of our country, the uniqueness of it to the United States and African Americans here, our tourist, our tourism, sector could get a huge boost from this young man visiting Liberia. For example, that's just one aspect of it, right? But like Mr. Sia was saying, we don't sell anything. All of our projects, even with President Weah, is always funded by foreigners. 14 military hospitals, I think, was funded by the Kuwaitis. These PHP parks and other parks are always funded by other people who are giving quote unquote goodwill to Liberia. The money that we actually have, the $600 or $700 million that we can actually raise from internal revenue, almost all gets swallowed up by reoccurring expenditures. So we're not able to fund ourselves. If you're working and you can your paycheck that you're getting is barely enough for your rent, and you have to borrow money from your friends and family members to pay your rent, are you truly an independent person? Are you truly doing anything for yourself? Of course not. The one thing that these people do that that gets me a little irritated is that they try to lie to us and they think we're stupid. So you bring a man like Gaffwan in there who is purporting that they're capable of raising these large sums of money when we can barely raise $600 or $700 million by ourselves, and you're talking $8.4 billion, the bulk of which is going to be coming from external entities that's going to be almost like giving us charity to Liberia, or you have to borrow loans or take loans at a usurious rate that our country probably cannot pay back. So it's funny. If you're being honest with us, be honest with us and tell us, look, it's going to be difficult. These are our goals. These are the things that we're trying to do. But when you give us a budget and tell us that it's $1.2 billion, $200 million of which is a one-time payment of an agreement from ArcelorMittal that's only going to be one time for the next 20 years or so, you're only going to see it one time. So you're knocking the following year budget down to just $1 billion because $200 million is not going to be reoccurring. You're looking at the money that they raised from the LRA this year. They said it was supposed to be on track. They haven't given us the good news. I think since the fiscal year ended that we've raised, we didn't have a budget shortfall. Our internal revenue target was met. We raised the money, or maybe we even exceeded it. They haven't given us that good news. So more than likely, it's to tell us that they didn't hit the target. So all of these nonsense, I hate to use the word nonsense, all of these smoke screens.
Hold on, Iris. They said we exceeded the target and we raised a little over 800 million. They made a recent report. Go ahead.
Okay, great. That's what I want to. That's what I've been looking for. So if we exceeded the target and we raised 800 million, great. So out of our budget, let's just take our last budget forecast. How much of that money went to reoccurring expenditure? How much of it? Because that's our real actual monetary power. Everything that's coming for us is, it's almost like transient. It's going to come in. Maybe it will not come the following year. So if you're looking at it, that's our real spending power, $800 million. How much of it can we invest in ourselves? We can't use $100 million of that money and put it aside for any big project in Liberia, for any bridge. The little bridge that Musa Ability is building, we can't even build that kind of bridge for the government ourselves. Any major development in our country is funded by donors. Any money that we receive from revenue generation is used to pay people, is used to continue to run government. So we are just, I don't know. Sometimes when I look at it, that's why I say get in touch with the diaspora. Take the opportunity to bring more tourists to the country. Take the opportunity to become marketers of Liberia. If you can raise enough money internally, invite people to come into your country and raise money through tourism. Pick a spot and put money there and develop it and make it a tourist hub. Like Cape Mount, for example. Take that Cape Mount, put a couple of $100 million there, and make a big plan that you're going to really develop it and sell it to the entire world. That this is a spot that people need to come and see. It's something unique on the continent. A big surfing area. and develop that area and then sell it to the entire world. But we're not doing that. We're not doing it. So for me, I think it's not really, it's not an achievable goal. It's not LARP. I think Mr. Eastman would know that term LARP, LARP. It's not LARP. And Mr. Gaffon, I think he's insulting the Liberian people by thinking that he can pull the wool over our eyes and get, and give us big ambition and something that's almost impossible to achieve.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, are you there? Let's talk about transparency for a moment, right? Because it appears that maybe they're not telling us the truth, because most of this can be resolved if the government is transparent, if the government is telling us what really is happening so that we can be prepared for it. What's your take on transparency when it comes to what the government is doing? If you fall short, tell us. If something is achievable, tell us. But it's like the government is not telling us. The government is not being truthful. Do you share that opinion, Dr. Pearson?
Thank you for having me, Dennis. I'm having some internet problem at my location today. We have an internet blackout, so I'm using my phone. I hope I'm loud and clear. Am I loud and clear?
You are clear. You're not in China, are you?
I'm in the US. We visit 90 few days as America, so maybe somebody jamming my line. I'm not sure. But yeah, thank you, man. I've been following the conversation, and I think what I'm hearing is interesting when it comes to the arrest agenda, $8 billion planning. Of course, we understand from the initial stage, as everybody have mentioned, the bulk of that money is dependent on external support. My sister put it right. She said, how can you be making lavish budget and then you depend on other people's pocket to fund it? It's like somebody in Liberia telling me, my man, send me $50. Let me go storm. And I'm like, seriously, like that my pocket is depending on. But a couple of things I want to just raise to the table. One will be answering reference that we have a report. You see, and Dennis mentioned how we don't have trust in this in the administration. Look, take for example, the fiscal year 2025, the LRA only presented one of the 4 reports that they should make available to the Liberian people. So they did the first quarter report. And after that first quarter report, we received no other report until now. I have not even seen the report that Anthony is referring to. Anthony, if you can put it in the chat, that would be helpful. I have not seen that report. I look for that report. I'm looking for that report. I'm not seeing that report yet. In fact, the first quarter report that they put out, from my estimation, it brought a big hullabaloo because it couldn't jive with that of the Ministry of Finance when they were reporting to the legislature. So there were a lot of gaps in the revenue they reported. And if any of us here can recall properly, there were times that some of the budget line of 2025 that couldn't be funded. And even when they made their midterm report, you could see gaps in funding, right? Another thing I want to stress here is the fact that in addition to us not understanding the true picture of our revenue collection, have we had, and Mr. Eastman made this, and myself made this concern on one of the other shows, since the usage put out and the Swedish government pulling out, have we had an opportunity where we sat down as a country and reassess the risks to the arrest agenda? Have we done that? I don't think so. So I would love to see a comprehensive report from Gaffouin and that of the LRAs justifying how the arrest agenda can be funded with the global change in geopolitical funding and sourcing. And if anything, I'm also interested in wanting to know, I know Mr. Eastman also want to know, are we relying on credit, external credit? Like our current debt is around $2.6 billion right now, right? So are we going to be depending on external credit to support this arrest agenda? No, these are questions that we should be asking our people. So show the analysis.
Do you think it's a transparency issue, or they don't know how to do it?
I won't say they don't know how to do it. You know, sometimes you may know how to do something, but you may not have the what we refer to as the supervisory push or the management expertise to guide you to bring it out in you the right results. So take for instance, if you put me as a manager over 200 people and they all come with certain particular skill set, the reason for which you have supervisory role is to bring out the best in your supervisees. So if you have people under you and you're not pushing them, you're not challenging them to bring out the best in them, they just must sit and play bingo. Or they may sit behind the computer and play and play blackjack, right? And it's not that they don't have the skill, but they're not being motivated to produce results. So President Boyka tells us that a $6 million project was orchestrated from monies that came from SOEs. And he said on the national state radio that he didn't know about the project, but yet he said he want to dedicate the project. So that says a lot. It tells me that someone is not supervising, someone is not managing, someone is not keeping eye on what is happening, someone is not providing direction. And that's why we probably might be lacking, Dennis.
Thank you. This takes us to the what I have for the topic tonight. Liberia at a crossroad, questioning our political culture, institutional integrity, and national values. If you look at the whole usage thing, right? That and I like the illustration all of you gave. They say, well, you don't even have money, you're not even working. You want to spend money more than what you earn. Or you don't working, you want to have a wedding, but you want to have the first one is the bachelor night for the men. I don't know the women how they call the S2. Then you have the wedding, the traditional wedding, the kola ceremony. You have the European wedding. You have the everything you want to have it. So if you look at this story, what does it say about our political culture, our institutional integrity, the way we do things, right? Because it's not what we've just discussed is not unique to just the Boyka government. It's a culture. Alice?
Well, the culture being on, this is something that started a long time ago, and even in recent time, all right, the debt Liberia had was wiped away when Madam Johnson came to power. But what happened before she left? So people spend without realizing that the money they are spending is not what they are generating. And until we come back as a nation and do a study, the way forward, how can we produce and then limit what we borrow so that we live within the confine of what we are able to produce? If you are paying somebody $50, make sure that you are producing more than 50. But if you are depending on somebody, that we already said, it doesn't help the country. So we need to go back to the drawing board as a country, because this is a call. This is a national call, so that tomorrow we'll not be surprised when things are this, because the world is changing. Things are not going to stay the same. Tomorrow they can close down the IMF. How are we going to run our country? We got natural resources, but then we sit on the national resources and individuals just do what they want to do. Nobody is monitoring anybody. So we have to limit the way we spend so that the country will not go down in a hole. Cut down our debt, but we keep promoting, we keep adding more and more. The situation, maybe we need a national conference, if it will help, so that people will be able to bring their ideas and see how this country will not sink. Because you'd be surprised that we are not careful. Now, LEC is in debt. So these things will keep going on. before you know it, the whole country is shut down. And to get it down from the ground would be hard, very, very hard. So we need to start planning now properly to be able to have a country tomorrow.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, why do these things keep happening? Why is this? Why has it become a culture? How do we get out of this?
Thank you, Dennis. I think it's inherent in us to be corrupt, and in our political nature. That's one of the fundamental things.
Even with Cummings?
Well, until Cummings is tested on the political playing field in the office of the president, now I cannot definitively say that he's not going to be corrupted by the culture. But I know he brings a level of integrity. I'm being balanced here and trying to be honest with you, so that tomorrow when Cummings is in there and he's not living up to that expectation, I will tell you that I said it in this. So you see, so the culture is there, and the thing is, it's not that the Cummings may not bring integrity to the office, but how endemic is the culture, and how is the culture going to impact him? So I'm just speaking to the issue of the culture. I think endemic to the culture, number one, the political culture that we have that is hurting us is corruption. And the second thing I think that is very strong over Liberia is that exclusionary politics we play, the them versus us. And when you have exclusionary politics, where you exclude certain basic skills and talents that you could have used in the political sphere because you want to pick from a certain, you want to drink from a certain spot in the stream, right? So even if you are stuck downstream is dirty, you can go upstream because you say upstream for them and downstream for us. So you keep pouring from the worst. So and that exclusionary politics we play in Liberia, I think we need to get rid of it. That's a political culture that is not helping us. And then I'll say this last thing on this, and then I'll pass the mic on. So corruption is endemic in our political culture. The exclusionary practice is dominant. And last but not the least, the issue that has to do with ethnicity and cronyism. Ethnicity, people want to run the country on the basis of tribes and ethnic leaning. It's highly devastating for the political culture. The diversity of our nation with its 15 counties brings together people of diverse background, so that Dennis Jai on this platform who wants to be superintendent can be superintendent, not because he's tied to Lofa County and gotta go be superintendent where he, or the cronyism because Dennis Jai is not in the clique of President Boyka. He was not one of those who are the loudest on the political playing field during the campaign time, so he cannot be superintendent in Sando County. Look, I mean, these are things that I think is endemic to our political culture that's hurting us.
Thank you. Mr. Sia, let me get your take, right? Because this is not just one administration.
Dennis, it has never been one administration, and it will not be, the past and the current.
Is the problem with us, the pundits and the analysts? Because how can everybody go there and do the same thing?
So Dennis, it has become a culture, and I don't disagree with Dr. Pearson. It has become a culture. It has become a way of life. Can we break that? Yes, we can break that. How can we break that? The breaking of it will start with a leader who is convicted, so much so that he sees the path for our political redemption in doing the right things and will not compromise, all right, on holding people accountable no matter who they are. And so until we find, for example, then the great thing about Liberia is that Liberians follow their leaders. They heal their leaders. They love their leaders. They respect their leaders. To understand that even when the leaders don't show them respect, they still respect the leader because the leader occupies power. This is what we're talking about here. Have you heard anybody from the Unity Party to challenge the president that Mr. President, the FOIA project here is an embarrassment to all? None of them will ever say that. No day, never. But they will say that when President Bouaka is out of power tomorrow. None of them will say that. I listened to the press secretary today, and the government is sticking to its story that this is a Minor River Union project. The president, that was the explanation they gave him, so he took it. They're running with it. And that is not true. If you look at Philip Bear Brown with his team from where I sit, he narrated, he said, I'm close to President Weah, I'm close to, Mr. Bouaka, President Bouaka. And, this is what happened. I believe what he said is true. That Grispe was the one who concocted it, but I disagree that President Bouaka did not know about this at some point in time. He got to know at some point in time, and he allowed it to play. So if this became an embarrassment, why would the president refuse to go there? But he went there, he toured the place. And it was there, we heard our good brother, His Eminent, Kesali, trying to advance the narrative and all. So, Dennis, to answer your question very simply, it has become a culture that we must see as a problem and willing to break. If you are in the Unity Party, if there are things you criticized yesterday that are happening in your government, do not only disagree with your party, do not only disagree with your leaders internally, disagree with them openly for the interest of Liberia, just as you did when President Weah was in power. And so when our politics is on the convenience of who's in power and who's not, we're not telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We are selective when it comes to the truth. We will not get anywhere. Then I tell you this much. If President Bouaka start firing people for doing the wrong things, people will fall in line. President Bouaka had this great opportunity. I mean, it was not great because he himself was in violation of the code of ethics. He didn't declare his asset either. But then the simple answer to your question is, it is a culture. We live it. If you're in Liberia, you serve in government. If you don't steal, if you don't buy a house, they say the man are better. How can you be in government? You come from there, you don't have anything. So even the ordinary people who are bearing the brunt of people abusing public trust and abusing public finances, they are the ones celebrating the people who are doing it. They consider them as smart. So for you, Dennis, when they look at you, say, Dennis, man, you're looking straight. We can look at our own George Lobo. George Lobo and all held the CDC to its neck for 6 years. This is where George Lobo used to take bath. We have not seen him. We have not seen him. We reached out to George Lobo. Hey, George Lobo, I said, my man, I think you say you have interest in becoming superintendent of Sando County to serve your people. He said, my man, that one is not possible. And I'm putting it out there. It's not possible. He says it's not possible because you're not part of Unity Party, as though you are not a Liberian. Imagine if you are going to say you want to be superintendent for Lofa County. I know you are going to take all and run behind you. You're talking about the county you come from. The message is not possible because you are not a member of the party. So you are disqualified from serving your people in Sando County to serve them well. The people you have passion for to serve that you want to really do well for. No, you don't qualify for that. You're not part of Unity Party. We all can be part of the political parties. We are part of this family called Liberia. And we should look for our best and put them in places for them to serve well. Simple answer, it is the culture we have to break. We need a leader who will start that and everybody will follow.
Thank you. Thank you. And talking about culture, I know we're going to go to the next issue because the issue of culture, the topic today, which
you are muted, Dennis.
No, we can hear him.
We can hear him.
Right.
We hear him.
You are the one muted, Clarence. All right. So the next issue I want us to go, and I want or Evans to start is, and then Jimmy will be second, is Brownie Samukai, J. Brownie Samukai. J. Brownie Samukai is back in the news. He was a convicted ex-defense minister. He was convicted for misusing public funds. He is planning to return 2029. Elvis,
Uh-huh.
you know the Bani Samukai story, but what I saw in this story when he's talking is like, what is this that everybody who leaves government, okay, normally when you leave government, you serve. So two things have happened. If you're from the United States and you are like my friend and Sebastian, Moa, and other people, if you serve in the government, after you leave government, you come back to the United States and just pick up where you start. Good thing. If you are not lucky enough to leave, or if you are not from America, you stay there and you are just looking for the next opportunity to go back in government. I mean, we don't see anybody to say, well, this person was serving in government. Now he's a panelist on Focus on Liberia to contribute to the national discourse. Now he's teaching at the University of Liberia or the Lofa Community College. Or he has organized a think tank to do this. Or he's now running a business to do XYZ.
Or he has a farm.
Or he's right now he's operating in Bapolo, you know.
Or in River G.
Okay, he replaced
Okay.
Pinabolo over there. So what is this called? So it's a good thing to come back, but this has become a political culture. Or Elvis, talk to me about that. Do you see
All
what I?
right. All right. Look, Mr. John, I don't want to be too philosophical here, but I'm going to say this. Do you, in the country, you need men who knows how. Your technocrats who know how to do something, who know how to build rules. And the leader of those men is a man who knows why. Why do you need these men who knows how to do these things? The person who knows why always leads people who knows how. And what that means is that a person who knows why you need people of integrity to be in position of trust, public trust, that person should be the leader. A person who knows why you need a strong economy and a strong private sector, that person should be your leader. We have a lack of men who knows why, but we tend to have a surplus of men who knows how. So they have no direction. They don't have somebody over them who can lead them. And that's what nation buildings entail. You need people who knows why. Who knows why you need to take tough decisions. Who knows why and when to go into austerity. Who knows why you need to fire certain people and make examples of them publicly. We lack those kinds of people in our society. Brandon Samukai is most likely probably going to win again. Who's going to tell him, look, my man, public service is not for people who have been convicted by the court, a competent court, and you've been convicted and given clemency, not a pardon, but clemency, meaning that the president, give you mercy so you don't serve your sentence, but you still are a convicted felon, So that person is still going to go back into the political space, and we don't have anybody who is there to tell him why he shouldn't be in that space, why it's not good for the political system of our country to not have people who are convicted felons, especially somebody who stole from the servants of the Liberian people through the army. So for me, I think overall, the bigger picture here is not just about individuals. It's about the lack of capacity that we have to build our nation. And we hate to say it because those of us in America, some of us who have built capacity, and we think we're capable, and we think we are a reflection of the majority of Liberians, and we're not. Most Liberians don't have capacity. People are listening back home. The few that do that 1 or 2 or 5%, they're the one that's running the country. But you need a man who knows why we need 30 to 40% of Liberians who are capable of doing things, who knows how. And if you only have 5% of your population who knows how, you're not going to develop your nation. You need more people. A minimum of 40 or 30% of the people need to know how to do things. Professional jobs, accounting, people who can build roads, people who are architects, people who are in the financial sector. You need them. Those people are the total sum of your nation capacity. And if you're lacking far behind in terms of the people that you have, you're not going anywhere. So we can have political conversations, but when it comes to really building our nation, we need more capable Liberians, and we have a shortage of that. So Brownie Samuka coming back, many people would think it's just because they stole his seat. CDC stole his seat and they didn't let him take his seat. So he needs to come back and serve by all means because he's a big man for the country, and therefore he should be sitting in the center of Lopa County. which most likely he's going to probably win in 2029. And nobody will tell him, man, you are a convicted felon. You can't serve in this position of trust. You stole money as a defense minister, not allegedly, but proven by the court. And you can't be trusted with public trust anymore because you show yourself to be untrustworthy. Nobody is going to tell you that. Nobody. So for me, I just look at it as something that if Liberia is to move forward, even if you take all of us on the diaspora, there's a law came out kind of sad, what is propaganda or true, that 50% of Liberians who live in the United States is on welfare. 50%. So this idea that we have so many, affluent Liberians and we're so educated and we're doing very well. Many people here are just stripping to get by. We have certain Liberians who are really doing well, who got professional degrees and are really in the middle class or upper middle class. But majority of us in the United States here are struggling to get by. So even if you transfer them back to Liberia, we'll still have a shortage of capacity in Liberia. That's there now. So we just need to know, we just need to focus on building capacity over the next 10 years, building the capacity of people who can run that country and help develop the country. If we can't do that, we'll be stuck.
Thank you, Evans. I think your earpiece, you need to reach it in a little further.
Yeah, adjust that. Let me go to Jimmy. Jimmy, the big picture we're looking at today is Liberia at Crossroads, questioning our political culture, institutional integrity, and national values. Let's discuss the case of Brownie Samukai within that context. And I was saying earlier that we've seen the pattern. If you're out of government, you find a way to go back. Or you come to the United States where you started and then continue. Whatever the government or the country invested in you, you are not going to stay in Liberia to give it back. You just find a way because somebody took bread from your mouth. Jimmy, let me hear your comment.
Somebody took bread from your mouth. I think a couple of you hit it on the nail. It has a lot to do with our culture. We have, what is culture? Culture is of a certain behavioral pattern that a people, a community practice. That becomes your culture. So we have allowed ourselves to get bogged down with not a meritable or a meritocracy type of culture, but one about your who knows you, which group you belong to, and things of this nature, but not who can produce. And that, for a country like Liberia, who's so far behind, the only thing you need to look for is people who can actually produce a difference and now who talk it. So how you turn, it's one thing it's easy to criticize Liberia, but how we turn that around. And that's what I'm more focused on. You turn that around by measuring every single year what somebody has done. Let an autonomous body measure it, what they have accomplished. Look, the other day they wanted to build a 5G network in Liberia. I don't know if you guys ever heard it. It was during we are administration. But this is my area. So when I heard about it, I said, "What, 5G? You don't have the infrastructure for 4G." And we who building this 5G futuristically, we know it needs an anchor, a 4G anchor. You cannot do it. But this thing was introduced. We went there and commissioned it, and it fell flat. Of course, it was going to fall flat because apparently they don't know what to do. So, but was this man ever held accountable for not doing it? So there's another aspect of it, we said culture, accountability. There's not enough accountability in our home. So that people, when you mess up, we will let you accountable, and you will not be so bold to go after a new position when you mess up the other position. But until we make up, it's not easy to turn that kind of culture around, because like they say, oh, everybody knows everybody, but all you do is start measuring people's performance generally, and if they don't do well, and you publicize it, you lower it. If you don't do well, you replace them. We don't have enough accountability. And see, Samakai, some claim that he was not bad. He was pretty good in the military, but except that he misused these funds, and he always claimed that he misused it on the directive of the president. But there was no documentation he had to show for that.
But Jimmy, being good in the military, does that excuse him for taking the army people money?
Right. Accountability.
Okay. And I want you to also measure, because we're not only talking about this or political culture and institutional integrity, we're also talking about national values. If Brownie Samuka wants that job, are there Liberians, even in the Unity Party and Liberians from Lofa, that want to say, this is not our culture, these are not our values. You don't steal from poor people and come back to be their boss. Are we at that point?
Okay, our poverty, it makes us vulnerable. That's the other thing.
Think so?
Yeah, we are vulnerable because of a lot of things people get away with. All they have to do is spread a little money around. People will start showing their teeth. People will start looking the other way. That's what they've been doing. We saw it happen just the other day in the Margibi elections. We saw it happen in the Riverside elections. People who were known or already alleged to have stolen, all they did was distribute a lot of money around, and they got elected. When you have a poor population like we do, it's easy to do that. So what can we do to insulate ourselves from people who with money, using money, cash violence to win elections? That is what we have to sit on and understand. But if we all want to do the same thing, then we will not stop it. So if we want to stop this culture, we all have to agree that we will not do it. But what I have observed, everybody just waiting for their own turn to go. I heard the other comment the other day. What is that? Our turn to eat. That is the nature of it. I mean, that is our culture. That is what has to change. It's not your turn to eat. It's nobody's time to eat. But that has to change. And until we do, but simply make it, if I want to, let me land with it. When it comes to the mechanics, revenue is not what is important. Revenue doesn't build a country, people do. So you have to, you instead of focusing on revenue, focus on building certain core competencies, like food, like power, like roads. Focus on developing, carry from this place to that place. Okay, education, carry from this place to that place. Liberia should slowly start to heal itself, but until we measure our competence and be honest about it, because nobody tells about the failure. If for instance, I told you this whole 5G thing never went anywhere. Where's the money that we spent on it? And nothing has been produced.
And where is the transparency to say, hey, this is what we're trying to do?
Exactly. Nothing.
Alice, why do so many former government officials want to go back to politics? Instead of anything else, nobody's going back to River G to do anything there. I was talking to someone from River G, and Alice, let me say this. He said there is no money for local government and even the city government. He said, so I think he came from one of the River G section. He said, I have to actually use my own money for people to buy cutlasses and hoes and shovels to clean the city because there is no money. And nobody is focusing on that. We're not even seeing opportunity. Like if I see somewhere that there's mud, the place non-pliable, all the time there's mud. Don't I see that, okay, there's an opportunity for me to invent a car or some vehicle with iron tires that can just go through the mud? We don't see that. Or since Liberia, maybe from 7 o'clock, the whole country is in dark. Maybe there's an opportunity for me to start a power, an energy business. Why are our government officials, after they make so much money, leave government, they always want to go back to government, Alice? Do you know why?
I think some of the reason would be they are not saving. As they get the money, most of them spend the money either womanizing or buying expensive cars or just lavishing, going to how they call this place, the nightclubs where they got all the expensive drinks. That's what they do with the money, most of them. And because they spend their money on unnecessary things, when they have power, then they start to feel that the money that used to support the lifestyle, that money is not there anymore. And so they want to make a comeback to make sure that the lifestyle continues. The point again is specifically about Brownie Samukai. I know the story about him I heard was he misappropriated money by directive of the president at the time. But then no written communication to support that claim. So he ended up in the trouble that he was in. Meanwhile, the people of Lofa elected him. Okay? So the people wanted him. So in his own mind, those very people that wanted him, they will still be around to support him and do what they think he's capable of doing for the county. So knowing this at the back of his mind, he wants to use the opportunity to come back, and you will have a good politics to play there that somebody made him to do it. He couldn't say no. And then the government that came after that, the government was against him. He will say things to the people that will, make them to feel sorry. And eventually you're gonna get a position. So this is.
But does that also tell about our value as people? Or is it that, okay, this person is from Duduke, I'm from Duduke, I'm going? Or do we have, as people, place premium on integrity?
Liberia, really, I don't think they don't look at integrity. They don't. Because if you look in even people that committed crimes here and get deported, the next thing you will see them in government. They don't really care about who is corrupt. They don't really care about who is disrespectful or rude. They just take people, fascinated about maybe the appearance of people or what kind of cash the person can give, but they are not particular about values. I don't think so. Because I always say that I work with the DMD telecommunication way back, and they wanted to make this man a managing director. He was acting as managing director. But I heard people saying, very employees, saying that the man was too straight. We don't want that man is too straight. When he became managing director, people were not chopped, which means the illegal facts they were sending, the illegal way they were taking money from people and do other things that they had no business doing. When this man became managing director, you're going to close the loopholes. You're going to close everything. So they are not particular about integrity. They want the stealing that is going on, all the corruption is being sanctioned by the very people that are victims.
That is sad indeed. Mr. Sear.
Yeah, and then Alice did a very good job with that question. Do we have any value for integrity? The answer is no. Liberians in their majority do not care about integrity. People in Liberia do not care. Corruption is what sells in Liberia. Let me repeat myself. Corruption, crooked ways of doing things, that what sell in Liberia. If you want to succeed in Liberia fast, you must be crooked, you must be prepared to pay bribe. You must do favors that are illegal. And then you will be respected. People do not value the dignity of their own labor or honest earnings. They don't value that. I mean, let's look at why would a Tier 1 Gonglo contest in an election, they will not even get 2%. Let's forget about 5%. Do we not all not agree that Tier 1 Gonglo has integrity? But he didn't even get 1%. His party did not get a percentage point to qualify that party to participate in the next election. It is not that he did not campaign. Tier 1 Gonglo campaigned more than President Bouaka we have today. He went to over 1,000 villages and hamlets in Liberia, but he did not. Now, Tipote was another person who ran for president. Everybody in Liberia don't disagree that Tipote had integrity. He didn't even get 10% for the 2 times I believe he participated in our election. Now, I am in Liberia, I'm doing business, and I'm dealing with Liberians. And I experienced the frustration. Suppose about when Liberia, man, I think he know everything. Why a friend can they get something and make and your pass? They expect me to bribe them. And because I don't do that, they dismiss me. I lost partnership with other people because I didn't do what they wanted me to do. But I stood my ground. Some of the partnerships, I've gotten them back. And I'll get them back because they're now realizing that this guy means what he really means. He stands for something. So then there's integrity is not respected. In fact, the most vilified people in Liberia are people that try to do the right thing. I'm telling you. Those who they vilified, they dismissed, they put down are those who try to do anything straightforward. Mm-hmm. Don't we see Thomas Fowler being celebrated by a united party that called him T5 today? I like to give a practical example. Now, did we not know about Bay Twewe? He was elected by people. The very Samoka we're talking about here, United Party put him on the ticket knowing that this man was found guilty by the courts. This man was convicted by our court. United Party as a political institution put him on their ticket. They campaigned for him. President Bouaka we have today campaigned for Kamuka as a convicted felon on a major party's ticket. Our current president did that. And they will do that again because the man is saying he's going to run. You ask the question, why people always want to go back to government? Because the political culture failed to create opportunity beyond political offices. How much investment is our country making now? Technology is a new horizon. The government promised that they're going to build digital centers, about 10,000 students or so to bring computers. Has that happened? I'm not sure yet. How much investment? Give the young people computers. Why don't we have computers in all our public schools? What is stopping that? Imagine the number of cars. I mean, the speaker should have 2 or 3 cars. Most of the ministers should have 2 cars. Whereby they used to have their official car and this car. Government buying those cars for them. Mm-hmm. But I have not heard. Yeah, I have not heard the Liberian government making an ambitious plan to say we'll buy a computer for every Liberian student who is in government school. Have we heard that? But the Liberian government will endeavor to make sure that even assistant minister gets a car. and we're talking about car that is around
Hard
5,000,
earned.
10,000. And we're talking about computer when you negotiate with, like they have the Chromebook, Dell can make these things. You negotiate with them, you can get one for $200, brand new, if the government is making that deal with them. Why has this not happened? Can anybody answer my question? Why? So there is no opportunity outside. The other part of it is, Dennis, we Liberians, a good number of us, we are not financially disciplined. If you're working in government, you start talking to a girl, the next thing the girl she will encourage you to go to the bar. And the government official too want to show up there.
Calabash.
I visited Calabash. When I visited Calabash, I saw almost every Unity Party government official. Someone then could sing every song that was played from start to end. And they were not only singing it, they were dancing the songs. And then the cigar was rolling. And then the beer was rolling. They were in their clique. I mean, if some of them listening to me, they know that I'm talking about them. I was there, and they look at me and said, look, I have foolishness. The thing we're talking here must stay here. I said, no, I will not call your name. Enjoy yourself. You are a social being. You have to socialize. And there was a major government, I think, retreat the next day at the ministerial complex. One of the government officials who spent the entire time, he was caught on camera at the ministerial complex sleeping. So when you ask the question, we don't put premium on service to nation. It is a play. We just go there to enjoy ourselves. Look at the University of Liberia. Let me end on this note.
Yeah, please.
Finance Minister graduated from there. The former finance minister graduated from there. And almost most of our government officials, that building is in ruin. Have we seen any righteous indignation from our government, all the people to say, look, let's stop. This is a disgrace to our nation. But now they are putting
in the center of the country.
It's in the heart of the country. All the senator and representative passed there. The president passed there. Most of the minister passed there. They see that place every day. They see the student protesting. But you know who they blame? They blame the students.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
Thank you. And government officials, if you are listening, I'm in healthcare, right? At least, even if the people at the clinic, they don't have computer for everybody, they put one in the center, the kiosk. They where the CNA, everybody will go and punch in and do their stuff. Can we not have at least one computer, maybe one in the teacher's lounge and one in a public place on big screen, so that at least just one, it may cost you less than $500 to do that? Can we not do that? Evans, oh no, not Evans, Dr. Pearson. I want you to wrap up on the Brownie Samuka, and what does it say about our political culture, our national values, and institutional integrity? And please, Mr. Samuka, I know you married to my sister. Alice's brother-in-law. We are not talking about you. We're only using the story to make a point. Go ahead, Dr. Pearson.
Thank you, Dennis. I mentioned already the political culture that is being very weakened by corruption, exclusionary politics, ethnic politics, linked to also cronyism. And Eastman talked more about sycophancy. I want to go to the value aspect you talked about. Thinking about how broken our system is. I remember when I was growing up in Liberia, at some point in time, don't forget, I started from way Harper, came to Smelterties, then Monrovia, passed all in the Basseltown and other places. I think what is missing that I saw when I was much younger was honesty. Honesty was so strong that I saw when I was growing up from the interior to the town, to the extent that if somebody money dropped and I pick it up and went home, and my mother or one of my uncles or maybe my relatives saw that money and asked me what happened, and I said they will hold me and will go right back to that house that I found that money and they will give it to the people. When someone chicken got missing, They made all of us, the young children, we chase that chicken in the community. When we find it, we bring it to the person, the owner. Honesty was lost. And when did I notice that, Dennis, that honesty got lost was after the civil crisis. After the civil crisis. Another thing I noticed is that when you lose honesty, you lose integrity. And that's one of the things I saw God missing. And when honesty went through the door, integrity went with honesty to the point that people lose the sense of value. Nobody was proud again to be walking in the neighborhood when somebody put and say, yeah, that man straight up. And you know, when that man said this, you don't see that no more. It's like it's more like we celebrate crooks. No integrity. And what I see missing again, Dennis, is that when honesty is lost and integrity gets missing, you don't see exemplary lifestyle anymore. Let me give you an example. Back in the day, like I mentioned, when the child brought something strange home, the parents ask you where you got it from, and they will escort you back to where you took it from. Today, Samuka, with all of the issues that he had, legal issue, going to court, and the court convicted him, appealed to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court upheld the ruling. President Boyka, then Kennedy Boyka, along with the Unity Party people, walked to the courts and wanted to have Samuka reprieve from his guilt. Can you imagine? These are people who were going to become leaders of our country, who went against the rulings of jurors, who saw this man guilty for his involvement in defrauding the Liberian people and our young men and women in arms who were serving the country in war zones. Some of them lost their lives on those peace missions. Some of them came home broke, and their families cannot even show what they went to do peacekeeping mission for, because someone sat in Monrovia in their money because they belong to some kind of elite ethnic connection, or some kind of crony, some kind of a group of cronies, and nothing is done about it. And we see the same thing translate to the winning of the elections, where President Boyka again allowed the Solicitor General, the Attorney General to make a weak standing in the Supreme Court against Glorious Mususkat, who was convicted and appealed and still found guilty for crimes that they felt she committed and was indicted and prosecuted for. Right? It's not that they didn't have evidence, but the government who took over, the Solicitor General, the Attorney General, did not make the proper representation and argument to validate the case against her, which was already established by a decision. You know, so as you know, what I would say to us is that, look, let me say this, Dennis. I think it's upon us. Mr. Eastman said, how can we fix this thing? I think it's upon us to reevaluate what we learned when we saw growing up, and let's see if we can transmit that to our younger generation. Because from what I see, the Lothians went to the Supreme Court and said they went to pay some kind of money he stole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Lothians got together and said the money the man stole, we found someone who can't give it back, along with Unity Party. How can this individual set now an example for the next generation? Where's the integrity? Where's the honesty? Where's the exemplary lifestyle for the next generation? And President Boyka going to celebrate $6 million compound that he didn't know how the money was gotten for that compound. Then we heard from Philip. He said, in fact, the money came from SOEs. That tells us how rotten the system is. I'll stop there, Dennis.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate. We are discussing a very important topic tonight. And every news story, every story that we are discussing, we are tying it back to the main topic here, Liberia at a crossroad, questioning our political culture, institutional integrity, and national values. It also being reported that, maybe there's good news. So let me start with that we've signed yet another memorandum of understanding. New MOU signed with China. And I like how President Trump can call it China.
China.
Mr. Sia doesn't even joke with the name Trump when he hears it. All right. So we signed a memorandum of understanding with China, and that's I don't, so much money, right? We signed this memorandum of understanding for X amount of US dollar or the Chinese money. My question first, let's start like this. Jimmy, you are the diplomat here.
Mm.
Okay, Liberia, China signed $100 million Chinese money agreement. No, the foreign minister, because every time we hear that we sign this money, we sign for this thing, we sign for this thing, we see the foreign minister ahead of it.
Mm.
My first question here is, really, is this a job? As good as this may sound, is this really what our foreign policy is about? Is it, what really we should be doing as a foreign minister, or somebody else really supposed to be doing this? And what does this signing of memorandum of understanding or this agreement? Yesterday we were, on our show, we're discussing how maybe we are just passive waiting, or do we have an agenda, a foreign policy that is driving what we do? For instance, if we want to put somebody on the moon, we do something to be able to prepare sending somebody for them on the moon. If we think that every year we having water issue at a free port, we want to send people to school to learn engineering. If we know drinking water issue is causing problem, we do something so that at least we'll start, producing our own water. Every time we hear that our foreign minister is meeting this person, they are signing this agreement, they are doing this. Is this what she really supposed to be doing, or that's a bonus for us?
Okay, that's an excellent question. And one time I wanted to get a master's in diplomacy, and one of the courses was that you study economics, because countries ask themselves, where do I get energy from? Where do I get minerals? Who buys our exports? So economics can be a major part of your foreign policy, because that is what's going to get you the things you need. So you want to mold your foreign policy into something that will benefit you economically, especially when economics is one of the key issues you're facing at home. So it's not surprising at all that she's making these deals. And you say, okay, why not the finance minister? Well, the finance minister is more of a technician, if you want to look at that. He or she can be involved in negotiating, especially if he or she has a lot of influence in the financial world. In some places, having clout, people knowing you, brings a lot to the table. So what she is doing is very related to foreign policy, because you need growth, you need jobs, you need technology, all these things you need. So your foreign minister has to make discussions to get bilateral agreements that will boost these things. So what she's doing is quite in place. It's not always about diplomacy. Sometimes it's about trade and stuff like that. So she's doing the right thing. You have to get your foreign aid. You have to align that with what you need. You have to leverage your debt. There's so much things is related to.
So I'm looking at. I never studied foreign policy, but since I'm I know everything, so I can comment on that. Don't you think that she will market the country, right? She is, because that's soft power, and then so that the relevant parts of the engine can work. So yes, it's because of your foreign policy and what you do on the international scene that's going to attract people. So when you come now, should I be the one now, signing business deals? Because should I be the same person signing these business? Am I going to be the one to sit down across the table to talk trade with China, with this other company? Or am I going to sell it and let the investors come and engage the appropriate sector to do what needs to be done?
So what you do, you initiate for instance, if let us say China is very good in training technicians. So you initiate some discussions about training personnel, but in the end, you leave the technocrats to work out the details of that agreement.
If that training agreement gets, who signs it that China want to train they want to train LU people? Does the foreign minister go there to sign that agreement?
It's a team. It will be represented in the government of Liberia. The foreign minister can do that, but the details of the agreement. Remember now, the agreement has certain things, stipulations in there, and those things have to be carefully planned, carefully worked out, so it's in your favor. You're not just going to sign anything. So that's when you get, for instance, the minister of education, and maybe the UL president, and maybe a couple of faculty people. You get them to work out the details of that agreement and see if this is going to promote the production of technicians in the country. Then when they say, yeah, this is good, then the foreign minister say, yeah, it is. Can you agree to give us this? And then they say, yes, we will train your people. We can go by those details and do it. So it's a teamwork. But a lot of times the foreign minister is very well positioned to initiate these things, and so I'm not surprised at all that she's trying to bring all those things home, because she foreign policy is very shaped by your economic needs of the country. Mm-hmm. That's no surprise.
So I don't I read every newspaper at that time, but I've never heard the great Ernest Eastman ever signing those kind of business agreement. But let me hear from you, Evans.
I mean, you move the escrow coming to somebody who is advanced on this issue.
Wow, you're breaking up. You got headphones? You have headphones on? Your microphone is bad. Do you have headphones on?
Let me go to Anthony, right? Let's base this off our discussion yesterday. What do you believe is driving what the foreign minister is doing? What is our strategic national interest that she's trying to do?
Are you hearing me better?
Okay. Go ahead, Evans.
Yeah, like I was Mr. Eastman knows more about this than I.
It's chopping.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he can do without it. It will be better.
No, that's what he's been doing. Maybe we need a government of Liberia to get him one Chromebook.
Yeah, one Chromebook.
That's his microphone.
Dennis, I will go, right? So what the foreign minister is doing, the foreign minister recently in Rabat articulated the government foreign policy focus beginning this 2026, that the vision will be economic diplomacy. Mm-hmm. It is going to be about trade and how every mission can attract investments to Liberia that will create jobs in Liberia. That is their focus. I really don't fault them or fault her at all. And I think she needs to do more. For this agreement, more of economic agreements or agreements that will benefit Liberia economically. I want her to do more of that. Then the reality is we have not built the capacity of our country to be able to raise billions. All right. So while we are not showing any interest in doing that, we will remain a beggar nation. And that's going to be like that for a long time until we realize that this is not sustainable. We can't beg our way to development. It's not sustainable. It's not going to be done. The agreement that is signed, it is 100 million Chinese money or Chinese yen, I think they call it, which is yuan. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Chinese yuan, right? That is about 14 million United States dollars. According to the information we have in our possession here, Focus on Liberia, it is a grant-based agreement. So if that information is accurate, more than likely, we will not pay back. This is money that will be given to us free. Dennis, that's not the usual thing? We always want free money, free money, free money. This is how our leaders know how to lead us. That we beg to keep the government afloat. And when we get this begging money, then we spend more on ourselves. And when I say more ourselves, on the running of the government and not on our people. So I don't fault her. I mean, if she can sign as many, she was the one involved with the other deal that was supposed to bring about, I don't know the number, hundreds of Liberian students to America. They're supposed to go to school for 4 years. And after 4 years, they get employment for 2 years. That ended up to be fake. She calls the president, all right, to go to that. I mean, it was fake. There was not thorough work done, but that has passed now. But she still has a job, no problem, right? I mean, we need more of that. Unfortunately, we need more of that because our revenue envelope is small. The other day I was listening to Double Jada, the LRA boss. He said that in Liberia, if you are a tenant, you're renting from somebody, and the money you pay, the rent you pay, 10% supposed to go to the government, all right, as tax. But how many people renting in Liberia know? And according to him, if I'm renting from you, Dennis, anytime I'm paying your rent, I'm supposed to take 10% and carry it to RRA. Or if I don't do it every month, at the end of the year, I'm supposed to take it. If I don't do it, you will have the property. You're supposed to take that 10% and carry it. But how many Liberians who have property and renting these things out will be honest enough to go to RRA to pay that 10%? So if you look at it, Liberia is losing almost 2 to 3 million United States dollars annually.
Before you continue, that's why in this country, what do we do at the end of the year? You file your taxes, right?
Yeah, fine.
So if we live in a country where we don't file taxes, or how will anybody know that you operating a business?
Exactly.
It just depends on, because I go to church, I will come and say, oh, this is what.
So it's left with the goodwill of Liberians now. Honesty does not exist in Liberia. It only exists in the heart and minds of few people who believe that Denaja, I know he's an honest man. He wants to be honest. The man said, I'd rather die, go see Jesus with my honesty than my hand being a cookie jar, being embarrassed, right? And I like that. And I'm all for that. But so Dennis, that is the reality. That is the deal that they have. And that is the government policy when it comes to their diplomatic operation. They call it economic diplomacy. Engage China, engage France, engage America. Try to strike a deal, whether at 1 million, whether at 2 million, bring it. Even if it's a drop in the bucket, that's the best we can do. And then we rely on these MOUs and these investment companies like the HPS and all that. And even these are not even in the interest of our people. So I'm not sure our leaders have had the time to sit back and say, look, let's plan better so we can raise more and put most of the money in development so as to alleviate the condition of our people and improve their human and material condition. What I see the government doing, the government is tooting the turn. Oh, we're paying people on time. The government say, oh, the current now, the way we are time, it used to come. So now after 6 hours before it come back, it's not happening again. So we're doing great. We're doing great. We just signed an agreement with China. So amount will be coming. We're doing great. That is how, but they don't know that the University of Liberia is completely dead. But they want us to celebrate these agreements, even though these agreements are improving the material and human conditions of the people. So that's where we are, Dennis.
Yeah, the scholarships you were talking about, they call it Necote.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we found out that that group was not legit. There was not transparency and everything. I think that was a learning lesson for them.
So Jimmy, so you understand now how the foreign minister can just be going around like a grant writer?
But at the same time, the Minister of Education was deeply involved. You see, you come to me, or you, the Minister of Agriculture, said, "But man, we need investment in our agriculture industry. Let's set up a bilateral meeting between India. India is a very good producer of agriculture, so that we can learn get what they have, get the tools they have, so we can start being very productive agriculturally." So this foreign investment goes, he set up the meeting, he said we need to have these bilateral discussions. One of the key things we want to talk about is agriculture production. So she will be part of the team. But like I always say, the expertise have to come from the Ministry of Education. They should have properly vetted that organization and before making a big announcement like that. But they are learning pains. They were new in the government. I think it happened when it initially took over. You learn you later on. I think it was some growing pains, but they found out fast enough that these people are not legit, and that's a lesson you have to learn in government. You have to vet every organization you deal with, because it may not be who they claim they are.
Evans,
Are you hearing me better now? Hopefully.
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I think she's well within her rights to sign an MOU. Again, she has a lot of trust reposed in her by the president of the country. So she's outside there. She's almost, the direct representation of the president. So she can sign MOUs, like Mr. Eastman and others said. Then it will be rectified, all of the details will kind of be, sifted through by the relevant agencies and directors or ministers, to make sure that it's in the country's best interest, even though we know sometimes most of these deals are at our own detriment. But she can sign it. She has the power, vested in her by the president to sign MOUs. MOUs are not really binding documents. They have to be kind of worked out later on, and all the details kind of straightened out before it can be signed and implemented. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to get back to my last point. Mr. Sia asked a question. Why? At the end of it, why? People who have kids, when the kids are young, they're always asking, "Daddy, why? Why I can't do this? I have to go to school." It's almost like something that is innate within our human nature. We always want to know why. And you, as a father, sometimes the parent would say, "Because I say so." They won't take the time to explain to a child why education, for example, is important. That you're not on the cups of poverty, so you're not easily manipulated. So you know something that is going to get you out of poverty, so you have dignity in your life. That's why education is important. Why shouldn't I do this? I know how to do it. Parents or people never take the time to explain, because they themselves, they don't know why. They just do things, and they can teach their children how. They don't know why they're teaching the child. So my point here is, take for example, I always like to use the example, we always run away from it because it might seem controversial. But Liberians in the diaspora, I can always talk about what's going on in Liberia. We flock to a man who is a criminal to be a voice of reason, a voice of integrity in our social political space. So when you talk about why Liberians don't, respect integrity, it's not just the people in Liberia, it's the people who are in America. They go to the character that they think has the most, followers or have the most connection and can give news in a sensational way, rather than the people who are the most integrous, the people who are the most consistent, the people who stray away from silly gossips, So this is who we are as a people. And until we understand why it's important to value integrity, to value honesty, to value people who want the right thing for the country, even though they're not giving you anything, they're not bribing you, they're not sensationalizing things, we'll still be in the position that we are now. Why is it important to maintain the things that we have? Why is it important to build things from your own sweat and blood? The pride that the people of Ethiopia can say that they build their own day by themselves. Why is it important for nation building? Why is it important for patriotism that you can raise funds from your own people and build things that your nation will benefit from, rather than being a beggar nation that everything tangible in the country is built by other people. So I think, again, that the Pearson is going to show, but I keep leaning more and more to Mr. Cummings because I think he knows why. Because a man who can rise, rise to the level that he rises, he rose to in Coca-Cola. He has to know why certain things needs to be done, and you also have the tools on how to do those things. So those are the kind of leaders that I'm now shifting my focus on, and maybe hopefully 29 we can support and see people who knows why they ascended to presidency. Because if we can't find people who can put all the people together who know how and disperse them in a way that's going to yield results, President Barker is not doing that. They've made certain tangible improvements that I was saying on the show last time. Everybody was getting mad at me. I can be objective and say that yes, this government has made objective improvement in certain aspects. But one of it is actually detrimental to the country. I think the minister of what's the guy name? The guy that I forgot his position, but they just like came out that the rains won't stop in Liberia. It's something about climate change that is raining. What's supposed to be the dry season is raining heavily. So right now the country should be dry, but there's more water than usual. And that the rain joking like brother, if the hydro have enough rain, it tends to kind of stay on for a longer time, whereas the dry season have more of an issue keeping it. Maybe that's what contributing to the electricity being more stable because we have more rain and thereby more water going to the hydro and maybe keeping the current more consistent. But my point here is that if we can't understand that a person like Brani Samukai shouldn't be in office, if we can't understand that Liberians in the diaspora shouldn't give their viewership and their ears to somebody who is corrupt, if we can't understand those things, our country is going to fail. And like Mr. Eastman is saying, China traded with the United States. They traded knowledge. Money is less valuable than knowledge. And in Liberia, we tend to value more money. We tend to value money more than knowledge. We're not sending people in droves to get the education. Look, Mr. Chinese president, we don't want any money from you. We want you to have 500 Liberian students to learn how to be, engineers. We want you to take 100 Liberian students to teach them how to be scientists. We're not valuing knowledge more than we value money. And I think that's one of the things that's detrimental to us in our country. But I'll leave it there.
Thank you. And Evans, you will do that if you plan strategically. What is it that we want? I think that's where we began from. What is it that we're trying to build here? What is it long term? What is it where do we intend to get? If you have that, so when you sit down to negotiate, you go after what you want. You don't wait until somebody, when they come and throw their thing away, they say, "Oh, give it to me." Alex, let's talk about this. Yes, memorandum of understanding. These things are good. We are signing them, but they turn out now they have become our mojo. We celebrate. We have Mr. Sam Waller, who is known for celebrating these has accomplishments. Oh, Liberia signed this agreement. Liberia signed this. But at the end of it, when you put this all together, where is it that we are trying to get? What kind of country do we think we are? What is the image of Liberia that Minister Sarah Beslow Yanti is selling out there? And as a result, what does she want Liberia to attract as a result of how she's projecting Liberia? I made mention of the Foreign Minister T. Ernest Eastman. When he was there, he was like trying to talk about Liberia's sovereignty, even when we may not agree with that. When the elections, when America was calling for, questioning the elections, he pushed back and said Liberia is not America's 51st state. He was more of sovereignty.
Yeah.
How does Sarah Beslow Yanti want the world to see Liberia based on what she's doing?
I think basically people are just focused on what Liberia can get now when it comes to money, how to fulfill the arrest agenda. I think that's the main focus. So Sarah Beth, Yanti, Beslo, whatever. When she became, when they gave her the job after she ran for president, and she did not win, and she was given that job. One of the things I heard people talking about is she had contact. I think she worked for the United Nations, and so she had contact. And then as a female, they felt that she was going to push, the agenda of the government. So they gave her the position that she's in. Remember, when she was given that position during confirmation, there were some issues with her documents and all of that, credentials. But yet still, she got a position. And I think the president wanted her to do certain things in his administration. And that's exactly what she's doing. Reaching out to these people, presenting Liberia as a country that came from war and trying to make strides. And so the pathetic nature of Liberia is presented. And being a female, of course, people think that female can, even if you get in front of people and you narrate a story, they will pay more attention. They will understand that, yes, Liberia really is in need. And so the president using her more to get what he wants for his, agenda to be fulfilled. So he's using her mostly then, because you gave example of Eastman in the past. At that time, Liberia was not where she is now. So we are not producing anything, even though we're not producing anything, but the kind of debt we're in now, we're not in that kind of debt. And the dying need, the lifestyle that is being presented was not like that before. But to make sure that all these things are sustained, the foreign minister has to be presented as a female, which is to advantage to reach out to these people and make sure that she's there from start to end. So she's going to she's going to negotiate and be the one to sign everything, because that's what the president wants her to do.
Thank you.
And just to bring the clarity, that statement he made, the U.S. had threatened to reduce military aid to Liberia unless it has new elections. That was after the 1985 elections. So that is when he said, we are no 51st state of America. We are a sovereign nation. For Congress to pass a resolution to cut aid would be unkind and uncomplimentary. So, Joe, what Ms. Malba was saying, it all depends on the leadership strategy at the time. So we got to look at Buckeye. At that time, when Master Sayakayando, who had just done his 1985, I don't know what kind of election that was, right? They were very controversial, and you, as the chief diplomatic envoy, you have to argue for your state. You have to put whatever the issues are, you have to come up and have defense for it. So right now, that is what she is doing. She's what the issues that Liberia, that the Buckeye administration is looking at. She has to be the face. She has to be in front of them. And one of the things, unfortunately, the education thing going bad, because I think we in dire need of education. But other
because this whole idea of begging diplomacy, right?
Yes, we need concessions, not begging for aid. That's not what we should be looking for. I agree with you 100%.
Dr. Pearson, I want to wrap it on this one.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank God my internet is back on from Xfinity. But you see, I think the question I want to ask us, and if anyone who will listen to this broadcast later on, maybe from government, is this. When we are running after and looking for international financial support or for loan or grant, whatever the case is, the fundamental question I want to ask here is this. Why is it that in the national budget every year we pay down our domestic and external debt,
but every fiscal year, our debt burden increases. So what is the essence of paying down the debt?
What happened?
Because we continue to live, you know.
And then you end up with a debt per se, you know.
Senator A money.
You know, I think I'm back now. Am I back?
Yeah.
Try again.
Am I back?
Yeah, try again.
So what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, have we, and another question I will ask is, if I hope they heard my first question. Another question I will ask is this.
I can answer the first one.
Yeah, you answer later. So the next question I will ask is this, Dennis. So is there any financial policy people out there, any economic financial policy people out there, whether from Gafuan or any of his deputies, whoever they are, to show us what are the spending needs that we have? Because I really don't see, if you look at the 2026 budget, they will just tell us on page 2 on our debt portfolio, they say, oh, our current debt is now 2.7 billion. 40% of that 2.7 billion is local, is domestic debt, and 59% of that foreign that debt is external debt. And then they just leave it like that. They don't tell you, for instance, if we are accruing this debt, what are we accruing it towards? Like, what is it that we crediting on, that if we say we want to invest it, we see the investment and we can check it off, and then the future generation can say, yeah, this immediately we benefiting from at this particular point in time. There's a while the creditor on, we're paying this debt back. What is it? So I brought these two things up for a reason. One, so if I do not know why you say you're paying debt and the debt keeps claiming, and I cannot see the product of your debt, the debt that you're accruing, I cannot see a very visible count for that debt. Because right now, and I want to clarify something, right now they told us the budget for 2025, they exceeded it in revenue collection. So then why carry the debt up? So I'm not saying there's not viable answer, but where is that answer? Where can I find that answer? How can I query that answer? How can I evaluate that answer? I would like to see GSC look into this, right? Another thing I want to say is that people saying, you know, so now we're looking to get, they say, oh, China gave us 300 million. It's multilateral funding. Is it really free? Do you really think China will all of a global and national need? She just look at you every night and then say, I'll give you 3 billion tomorrow. Look at you say, okay, I will give you 100 million today. Is it really free?
They're taking the minerals.
Yeah. So what exactly are the deals? What is it that they are transacting with diplomatically, politically, that the people of Liberia can see to say it justify why China is being so generous to us? And last but not the least, Dennis, if we have these answers, we are better able to discuss our future. Because we can say, you know what? Our debt was at this point, we credited and we did this, we can see it, we check it off. And our debt cannot go more than this because we paid this off, we can check it off. And then we can also say, we beg people out there, but this is what we need from them. And when it comes from them, this is where we want to put it, because we don't have the resources in our national budget to affect these areas. You know, and then we know where the money the people giving you going to, and why is it important that they're giving it to you. The guy at LEC, Dennis, the guy has his electric power company in Ivory Coast. So if current is stable in Liberia and we are not getting, if we're not getting something to backfire on money captain, that the current price went up in Ivory Coast, it's because the guy hijack it, so that when he come now become the LEC director, now he bring it back down and make it feasible for himself to buy current from himself. Who answering this question? Right? And last but not the least, our taxes continue to go up. I heard Anthony talk about the taxes. Anthony, we started off after the civil crisis, we're around 10%. Withholding tax 10%, it went to 12%, now it's 13%. And I'm hearing reliably that by January 2027, next year is going to 18%. The question I got from the Liberian people who leading us here: what is the economic viability of the country to continue to increase taxes on the ordinary people? What is the spending capacity? What is the income capacity of these people that you want to squeeze them like you tie monkey waist? You squeeze into the monkey waist, cut this and the monkey can even swallow authority. Why are we doing this to the people? And we boast and say, you know, we're generating more revenue. Where is the LRA second quarter report? Where is the LRA third quarter report? Where is the LRA fourth quarter report? Let us see the reports like they did first quarter report. Let us see where the money coming from. We want to know where is the diversification of our income coming from, revenue coming from. Where is it? No, these are questions I really want. I hope they can give me answers so that tomorrow we'll have a conversation again. We know how to speak to the issue from a more informed position. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Dawad Jala. If you're listening, we want answers, and so you are invited on Focus on Liberia to give us some clarity. I want us to look at our last issue tonight. Sorry, we couldn't cover all the issues we earmarked tonight. And this is the issue, I don't know, this is the issue I've tried to stay away from for some time, but I want to bring it to your understanding. This issue involving Speaker Richard Nawek and his wives. I'm using S because, you know, intentionally. You know, it's been a lot in the news. Before he became the famous, you know, we heard that I happen to be the spouse of the speaker. It was this trouble with his ex-wife said this and they are suing him for this and all this. The latest in the news that his wife or ex-wife Cecilia Kuhn is suing Madam Magdala Cooper for $3.5 million and all that. I mean, people say, hey, you know, they married, they are not. That's his sister. It's not his wife. They married for paper and all these kind of, I mean, it's sometimes difficult where to even start to understand.
There's a Cecilia in the comment section. I'm not sure if that's his name.
You what?
Excuse me?
There is a Cecilia in the comment section. I don't know if that's it. That's
That is
her,
her.
right?
She's
Right, she's been commenting. Yeah, she's following the show.
Yeah.
Hold on, Elvis, you interrupted me for nothing.
Oh,
all right.
Sorry.
All right, Alex, let me start with you. What is your understanding? I don't know if any one of you who have followed this story, what is your understanding of what is going on? And should this be a national issue? Does it worth the attention we're going to give it right now? Or is it something to say, hey, this is private matter? Should we be discussing? I struggle with it. So I want to share this.
Well, first of all, it's supposed to be a private matter, but then it came on the public forum, and individuals that are participating are all officials, one way or the other, or prominent people. So it is not a wrong thing to bring it on the platform. But again, I wouldn't really want to, you know, give it the kind of attention that we're trying to give it right now. I think it kind of, you know, it looks like
Why?
It looks like a distraction to me. It is kind of political in some way, because I heard that the lady involved is, I think, a seditious or sympathizer to CDC, and the speaker is from United Party. And so the entire thing that's supposed to be private matter between quote unquote husband and wife or brother and sister, you know, is dragging the way it is dragging. So we can all remember some time ago that the former speaker got in some trouble with, you know, the issue that got him off that position. And I think with this, Madam Paul being part of CDC or sympathizer of the CDC, I think the issue is not going away because people think through this issue, the speaker could probably come, leave the position or stay out. But then the unfortunate part is, if it were in the United States, I think the speaker would have stepped down. But Liberia being Liberia, it's not going to happen. So the entire thing will just drag on, and at the end of the day, it will go to sleep. Having multiple wives in Liberia is not a crime. President Taylor was married to his wife, and he had probably 3 or 4 other women, and nobody complained. But the issue right now is because the women are not getting along one way or the other. That's why we are hearing it.
And is Speaker Kuhn claiming that they are his wife, or everything is just lie? Because even prior to this Cecilia Paul story, we've been hearing wife in problem, they sue and all this.
Yeah, I read that he and his wife, I think, were divorcing. They had some issues before Madam Paul came in. But with the 2 videos that I watched, where Madam Paul was speaking, it appeared like she was speaking as a sister to Kuhn. When their father died, I think it was in the church, when she narrated some, story that proved that she was, a sister to Kuhn. So
why should Kuhn marry a sister then? And what is
the issue? Maybe people say because of documents, which I want to believe.
What is he Kuhn saying now, as of today? Say, no, this is my sister. Or
Kuhn, the only thing I heard him say was, if she has any issue, she should go to court.
Thank you.
But then this issue, I'm not sure whether she has taken it to court, but I know she is suing his second wife or third wife. So the main issue should be going to court. If it has not gone to court, I think it should leave from the social media to go to the court. And then after that is settled, the madam can go her way and the speaker can continue her business. Because married to brother and sister, this is not, I think there's a Somalian in Minnesota that did that. But she said I think it was religious or something.
That's
but the issue
rumor.
Is, say that again?
It's just a rumor about Ilhan Omar married.
Yeah. People are discussing it. People are discussing it. And other people say it was based on religion or something. So it could be religious, we don't know. Or it could be that she is his sister. But I don't think it's really necessary, because the immigration issue in America, I think it should stay in America. And then whatever going on in Liberia should be in Liberia. But it is a sensitive issue that I don't really want to be discussing. And I think if there's any problem, it should go to court and leave the social media. That's what I think. Because being on social media, to me, it is becoming more political.
Thank you. Evans, I was coming to you, but your audio is still not good. So let me go to Dr. Pearson.
No, don't go to Dr. Pearson. I'm sure my audio is good now.
No, your audio is bad, man. You need to switch something. It sounds very bad.
So you see, Manakwa is on the comment section, saying all sort of stuff. But again, I'm not really going to reply to her. But the point is, the issue I feel should leave the social media. If people want to take it seriously, they need to leave from the social media. Carry it to the court, like the speaker wrote, and then, or the assistant to the speaker said that the issue should go to court according to the speaker, and leave the social media. So all the information we're getting it from the social media,
Right, and Alex, there are a lot of issues that don't go to court, even with the speaker thing that went on for years, right? So we can still discuss it. Dr. Pearson, what you make of this story, and what does it even say about our Speaker Kuhn, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't have girlfriend or you shouldn't marry and remarry. But is it just too much? Is he entangled in things that cannot be explained, or that are raising question about his own integrity as speaker? Does it raise any concern as to what really is going on? Because this is a high-profile government official.
That appears saying, I beg your indulgence. I think we should leave this other topic here, and we can discuss the speaker agenda, how he has been providing oversight in the legislature. There are a lot of deals they've been passing. Let's leave the affairs business. What I want to say to CC Paul, if I'm getting the name right, we really want to hear her story here. I focus on Liberia. We are waiting, even if possible tomorrow, to give us the opportunity to tell her story. I think she
be telling that story.
But we want her to tell the story
and
here.
That's why I want to hear your opinion. So for you, you say, it's not relevant for discussion.
I don't think it's relevant.
For me, I think it's for our platform.
I don't think it's relevant.
If the speaker is here to tell his side of the story, or if CC is here to tell her story, we can ask questions and she can explain herself. But we don't have all the information, and to be putting our opinion in there, I don't think is best for this platform, Dennis. So I think we should leave it.
I disagree. I want to hear the rest of the people. What do you think?
All right, then that one will pass me.
Yeah. No, you already stated your position, and that's what we want, right?
You stated your position. That other person speak.
Dr. Pearson.
Thank you, Dennis. Mansisi, I empathize.
I don't know why she's acting rude. I can't believe it. Like, she went to the center and spoke to a lot of people, and she contradicted herself there. And the video she had on, another video she spoke on, I will find it to refugee meeting place, and I have the video there. 2 different videos, she said 2 different things, which is all contradictory. And Madam Paul is in a section insulting me for expressing my view. That's my opinion, lady.
She can do that, Madam.
Yeah, that's what she's doing. I mean, what kind of lady is this?
Madam Paul, you can't tell anybody that they're a liar. Please.
Exactly. Very, very rude.
And be respectful.
So the man, can I talk? Evident that the man is your brother. Don't sit down here. Come on, you married. You should be the first criminal.
Yeah, let me contribute now. Yeah, I think a fair way to begin would be to empathize with Mansisi. And the reason I empathize with Mansisi is because women have always been the victim of a lot of our male-dominated society in Liberia, right? In Liberia, we do have 2 kinds of marriage. As a clergy, I've sat on both before. We have customary marriage, and we have statutory marriage. So in a customary marriage, where they do the traditional wedding in the villages, some people got more than one woman. Some people got multiple wives, right? In fact, some of them, the first wife can go look for the second wife for the husband, and then go look for the third one for the husband because they want the husband to be satisfied and stay home. In a way, husband just to serve the husband because they're able to do all the work by themselves. So I won't sit on the platform and act like I'm not aware of our culture. And I know I know it may not be right, but those are things our people grew up with.
That's our culture,
right? Another thing. So in the statutory wedding, we do not subscribe to polygamy, right? So if you want to go in a church and get married with a certificate, they get certificate for that one too, like they get a traditional certificate. So if you went and got the statutory marriage certificate, then you're supposed to only be with one woman. When you want to change her legally, you got to go to the court and divorce her, and then you can marry the next woman of your choice. So I think that these are some of the things our listeners need to hear, because we're on the international platform, so people don't understand Liberian culture. And some people only just used to the American culture here that you cannot get more than one wife, but it depends on which certificate you hold in Liberia. So if Kun holds a traditional certificate, maybe the Madam Masisi should help us educate us right here now. If Kun does not hold a customary certificate for a marriage and he got a statutory marriage certificate, then of course it is unfair for him to have his girlfriend who is holding a very what I would say very serious public office to go on social media and say the woman husband is a spouse. I mean, for me, I know my own father then generation, that was we used to call it Mura, and, you know. So that how my papa left my mom and went and jumped behind a different woman, left her with 3 children. And my mom had to raise 3 children by herself. So the point here is that, so I empathize with my CC. I want to tell her sorry. And I think if our speaker is married by statutory wedding and he holds a statutory certificate, then he should go and file divorce and let my CC go her way. And I think our senior political advisor to the president, I mean, if she say he's the spouse, can she provide certificate of marriage so we can see?
But I think she would. I don't think she would say that's her spouse if she doesn't have the document.
Let me learn. I'm on opinion. The reason why she would have to do that is because she has a counterclaim to her man, and she holds a public office, and that office can bring disrepute to the president. The way she carries herself impact the presidency of the Republic of Liberia. She's senior political advisor to the president, and we know that she carried her. We heard from the initial stage of her appointment. She recommended her husband to the president, and the husband got appointed ambassador.
Mr. PSC, that's her private life, okay?
Right now, it's not private, man.
No. What the issue about the speaker may not be private, but whatever past information is private.
Crossfire is important for the debate. So for me, it's not private when she makes it not to be private, because she told us initially that she's married to another individual, and she debated that on the social media. She even made a post to that, a social media post to justify why the man was her husband and the man was appointed by President Boyka. Now that she has a counterclaim, she should tell us that, yeah, okay, I came on social media before I told you, and I argued with my other husband, but he must have divorced, and now I'm married to your speaker. Saying you're doubting it, yes, my certificate. It's just as fair. She's done it before.
But nobody has asked her for that. If you call on the show, I'm sure she will show that.
No, we asked her now. She should show that. That's why in the public space, she should show that. She came out and let her show that. Thank you, Dennis.
I will keep the diploma for last. Evans, what's your view? In the first place, we discussed it already, so I shouldn't ask you again. Whether is it really relevant or not?
Okay, I'm gonna hold my mic to my mouth. Hopefully, it's a lot better. I have to fix my device next time.
You're not getting your dime from Moderator Copper. Copper knows exactly
please, but Alex, let us speak. Don't argue with Omo in the chat. I think that Liberian can say, you know, monkey never leave his black hand behind. A man who went through the process of becoming speaker the way Speaker Kuhn went through shows that he has a flawed character. And usually these things are not something that pop up in the later stages of your life. It's something that you've been doing the entirety, for the most part in your life. So somebody of ill repute, somebody who, has had complaints that he committed fraud when he worked as an accountant for an NGO in Liberia. That was a well-known story then. This man is a flawed person personally, and then it translated to his professional working life. He is somebody who doesn't have the character to be Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Liberia. We understand. Now, this lady, he brought certain documentations. She went on different platforms. She stated her case that she did marry him. She's somebody who served in the United States Army. She has an extra burden on her as a service member in this country. For her to knowingly commit incest, as some people would call it, and marry her biological brother for paper, she knows that's a big no-no. She also knows that, she has documentation to show that she married Mr. Coon in a Delaware court. She's in chat. I'm sure she's probably going to call and clarify, listen to her story intently. And I think that to just quickly dismiss her as being a liar when she has documentation to the contrary, that's insulting to her. We know in America, people marry each other sometimes based on a agreement. Give me 10,000, I'll marry you. You get people with divorce. We know how the same works. But Mr. Coon, who is now saying that he doesn't want to divorce the woman who have asked for a divorce, who have asked for a divorce, and he's refusing to divorce her. The Magdalena Cooper only, I don't want to get there because when I get there, Mr. John, I say, oh, Elvis. But yeah, it's a woman who has a history being a home wrecker. She's had 3 kids by 3 married. This is a woman who is advising our president on politics. A woman who is a baby mother, as I would call her.
Leave the woman private life.
She's a public figure. She's serving in our government, getting paid by our government. We can scrutinize her character because that character transcends to the position that she's serving in. People who are of corrupt character would bring that into the public service in the office that they serve. So it's important to point these people out. So for me, I think Madam Paul will probably call on the show to clarify. We'll put the number out there and perhaps even give us an extended interview, extensive interview. But I tend to believe her. Now, the issue of biology, if people can prove that this is in fact her brother, because sometimes people can grow up in the same household. She stated that her father and Mr. Coon's father were split. Like bro, that funny relationship that we have. If you've been knowing somebody since you were a child, from childhood, like your sister, or like your cousin, even though you have no familiar relationship. So I don't know that that's none of it, but she has certain certificate that prove that she was married to him legally. That's the end. That's the case right there. If they're biological or not biologically related, we don't know. But Mr. Coon, his character is flawed, and he shouldn't be our Speaker of the House. We know that for a fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy, are we going to speak to this?
Okay. Now, because I know some of the individuals personally, I don't think it would be appropriate or fair for me to comment on private family matters. What I can speak to, however, is how issues like this are normally handled. So the first thing comes to mind is, first of all, was there a violation of the law?
Hold on, Jimmy. When you say private matter, let's say if why you think it's private matter?
Well,
if a public official, let's say like in a case, I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm not trying to pass judgment, but if a public official, was accused of infidelity, would that be considered a public matter or private?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to get into.
Okay.
Because not every public official matters are necessarily public. Okay. So I'm going to have to ask, was there a violation of the law? Was there abuse of office? Was there a deception of the state, falsified records, benefits of fraud? Does it violate any house rule or constitutional provisions? If none of this is yes, then for me, it's not a governance issue. It's a private issue. So and if it's a private issue, then I think it should be handled in that way. I don't think we need to give it any further, regard. But what I think it is good that you, Anthony, that you've invited Miss Ball to come on the to represent herself. So I think that's fair enough, and we should also hold that invitation to the speaker or anybody else who wants to.
Yeah, bring Mandela Cooper on too if you can.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, we
definitely.
need to bring them
So
on.
our invitations are out there, and we're going to follow up. Please, I have contacted Madam Cecilia Kpo already before that I wanted to speak with her. I also contacted, I sent invitation to Madam Magdala Cooper when she announced that she was the spouse, so so that we can get clarity. Thank you. We want to invite the public to weigh in 605-313-6004.
Oh my
The
God.
code is 791-403 #. We have discussed a whole lot of issues. So while we wait for the public to call in and comment, two issues quickly. The court shuts down LEC headquarters over 309,000 debt. That's the news in the story. And then there's news about this guy who is being accused. The NSA official suspended over gang sodomy allegation. They say Peter Bond Jala allegedly was involved in the gang raping of a 15-year-old boy. And the next story is about LEC closed down. The LEC closed down issue is we were talking good about LEC, that hey, LEC, people have LEC now is doing well. Now court is ordering them closed down because they didn't pay somebody. And the president said, I've been behind the former director of Money Captain to pay, and he didn't pay. So I'm wondering how these people do their transition, turnover, and all those different things. Like, or we just replace one person with the other and we don't really investigate what's going on. You just take the job and start going. That we didn't hear about this until they have to want to close LEC for not paying. I mean, did they try to kind of audit the former head to see, what all the debt on the books? How do we do our things? How do betting take place? And then the NSA guy. I mean, at that level, I'm not trying to preach here like the PSM, but there's somewhere in the Bible that says, let these things not be even mentioned among you. Why should we even be discussing that a government official sodomized or gang sodomized a 15-year-old boy? Should that even come up? How do we get these people in these places that those kind of things will even come up? I want us to discuss the two at the same time, still within that broad discussion of what I spoke about earlier, Liberia at Crossroads, questioning our political culture, institutional integrity, and national values. Mr. Sia, you go first.
Dennis, thank you. The LEC story that they should shut the headquarters down or their offices down, I don't know if that is done. Will we have the little current that people enjoying right now? But I think the code is not looking at who is enjoying, who is not enjoying. They're looking at the merits of the case. I don't know, is that thing justice is blind? We don't care who it affects. If that is done, why if the president is not getting current? No power. Okay, maybe the president gets a generator, you will turn a generator on, right?
Yeah.
So what's about other businesses that rely on the power supply from LEC? If LEC owes somebody, I think the decision should be LEC should be made to pay. If LEC does not have the ability or the capacity to pay, let LEC go and borrow money from the bank. Let LEC go and borrow money from the government. And that's how it has been all along. You remember when Samuel 12 was saying, well, we're waiting for the rainy season? You remember when Samuel 12 was boasting, well, we paid $10 million and we give it to LEC. The reality is, Dennis, if you look at institutional integrity, if you're looking at productivity, you're looking at capacity at our institutions, they are near zero. There are few people who are effective, who are efficient in the discharge of their duties. All right. And most of our institutions, our brothers and sisters who work at these places, they don't care about time in the first place. They don't care about due diligence in the first place. They don't care about, they have a responsibility to provide a service to their people. Someone who is, for example, at the passport division feels that for them to serve you as a citizen, when you show up for a birth certificate, they are doing you a favor. Some of them even at the passport division will feel that they are even doing you a favor. In fact, these services, some people can go through the back door to provide these services. And how do we hire people in the first place? What's the criteria being used? Are we looking at capacity? Are we looking at qualification? Or are we looking at political alignment? And you know well, Dennis, to be in the government, you must come from a political party, more so the one that is in power. So, in an extent, even to our lawmakers who are working in offices, so institutional integrity, capacity, responsibility to their job, these things are near zero. And it's affect everything else because
what's about vetting? How these people get to these jobs? And like we were talking about, Speaker Rachel Kuhn, right? I mean, if you are at that level, there are certain things that you should take control of. We saw the whole Speaker saga over almost 1 year. The Capitol building got burned, and then all these kind of things. So the vetting, how do people really rise? Jimmy, you work in government for some time too.
No.
Oh no, LEC. How do people go through these ranks?
Well,
you don't have any history. You just find yourself at the top.
Okay, now a lot of these things are people private business. I would think the first thing people evaluate on, first of all, do you have the qualifications to do this job? Second, do you have the experience in this job doing this?
No criminal background check.
Okay.
You have pedophiles teaching.
Yeah, of course, we can even do criminal, but some of the people don't have criminal.
I mean, we may not have fingerprinting, but do we take these things into consideration? Especially the way we operate every day. We got 1 million churches over there, and we all holy. We don't take anything into consideration about even people character, anything like that. It's just about your qualification, which school you went to, and you good.
I don't know where you've been, Dennis. We hired a speaker who was indicted here in the United States and served time in jail. We are forgiving people. We do not hold people to a certain moral standards, and that has been.
Is it about forgiving, or we lax our, we lax the rules when it comes to people? We don't just care about it.
Let me tell you where it comes from. I read about this, and I asked the same question you are asking. When you come from a war, you have learned what they call survival. And survival, it offers a different philosophy than integrity, virtue, and all those kind of things. It takes a backseat to those things. So when we are so used to surviving, we allow certain things now because where we've been through. Now we have to restore those values we had before. And there has to be a conscious effort by Liberian, the public, the institutions to restore integrity, to restore moral accountability, and all those things. But until we begin to get ourselves out of that survival mode, I will give you one example.
No, Jimmy, let's move on. We almost closing. So let me bring in. We have 2 minutes to close. Dr. Pearson, is that reason good enough? There's a survival mode now. So this thing why should we talk about a government official gang raping a 15-year-old boy?
Dennis, thank you, man. Look, let me say this quite boldly. When you have a national security agency that is accused of molesting, torturing, abusing people in the custody, and your national leader, like the president, who they take instruction from directly, take no action, and the legislature that's supposed to be calling these people to account for their action, take no action, it emboldens anybody to be even more criminal. So it's like, for example, you have a house and you have a renter in your house, and the renter rip a child in the house, and then the community came to ask you what happened, and you cover you cover the renter up, and then later on you hear they say, oh, the person raped your own child, you won't run, so you can't complain. And, you know, the first thing somebody will ask you, say, what measure do you have in your house? So what is in the house of the NSA that is bringing them to some investigation, some discipline when these allegations are made against them, or are they being shielded for political interest? So that goes to the arson, capital fire stuff, right? We have multiple accusations, everything will cover up. I leave that. Let me go to that LEC thing that you brought two bullets at once. So let's go to the LEC thing. It goes back to the larger lack of supervisory role and leadership in the country. For the court to reach to the place where they put lock on the door, they send sheriff to lock the door. It means to say the court have exhausted all avenue to get you to respond to complaints that went to the court. So even if the debt was inherited, maybe say from Ellington, or inherited from George Weahton, or inherited from Barclayton, or from Joseph Drinking Rawotan, at this current time that President Barker with 40 years experience in government, he doesn't know that electricity and power is an economic national security issue, because it has cascading effect. So like Anthony was trying to point out, yeah, what if that action were to impact their function? You know what happened to the business people who maybe have cold storage of our common people, lay chicken food and lay fish in cold storage? If they don't have a fuel that night, you know what happened to people in hospital, right? In clinics, yeah. You know what happened to them?
That's the kind of culture we're talking about.
You know what happened in security? Why you know that crime increased in the midst of darkness?
Thank you. There's a response from Cecilia Paul.
It's sad, man. Poor leadership, Dennis.
Cecilia Paul is saying, sorry, I have spoken. He said she's not coming. The other people should come home. No time finish. So that's the response. If you were asking us to bring her here, that's the response. Alex, I want to hear your take on the last two issues. And, you know, let's speak to this whole culture. You know, LEC closed down. You know, how do people manage? You know, I remember during President Sawyer, when the people left, they said they were even taking the floor mat, the chair from the offices to go. So our transfer, when President Weah took over, the city guys then went and said, "You just leave." You know, is that kind of thing that we see at the LEC, that they will be owing 300 some more thousand, nobody hear about it until they put lock to the door? And then to this guy who is at the NSA is receiving money that nobody, you know, covert operation. We all know that. That's every president way of stealing money. Now you have people there who gang ripping little boys, men. Talk to me, Alice. You have a minute.
Yeah. You know, I'll start with LEC. It is a serious matter for LEC to be owing the huge amount of money, and something has to be done. The country, even the city as a whole, is dangerous at night. There is the crime rate in Monrovia is very high, and for the city to be in darkness, it would be added problems. So I think the government can step in, even if it is on the basis of like giving a loan to LEC to pay off the debt or some of the debt. It would be a good thing. It will help the country, because the government cannot help that particular entity. We are heading for disaster. Imagine there's electricity in the city and the Rawofi Highway and many parts of Liberia. Accidents everywhere. Leaving from the southeast, coming to Monrovia, it is all in darkness. So LEC has been playing a very major role on the line of supplying electricity. And I think it is safe enough to build them out whatever way the government can step in. And everybody need to be able to pay their bill. There are a lot of people that are not paying bills.
Why can't LEC be responsible enough when you owe people, right? That they have to bring, or is it the issue of transparency?
The issue of transparency is a problem. Corruption as a whole, it is in every entity in Liberia. So people are not responsible to make sure they pay their bill. They take the money and use it for other, like dig hole, cover hole in other areas, misappropriation. Those are things that can make people not to pay their bills.
Use the last 30 seconds to comment about the NSA guy.
And it is very ridiculous to have NSA, National Security Agency, where crimes of such nature can take place. I'm out of words, because this is the last place we expect for something like this to happen, especially on a 15-year-old kid. Investigation needs to go on. Maybe this is not the first time. It could be that this is a culture. So I would recommend that the government of Liberia look further and do a thorough investigation and see if there were other cases, or ask people and see if there are other instances, so that these people will be brought to justice.
Right, and we remember the one at the Youth and Sport Ministry.
Youth and Sport is still outstanding. And these are some of the things, if you don't take action on one person, it's going to be repeated. People have been calling over and over for the Youth and Sport deputy minister, and nothing has been done. And now it's happening in NSA. So if you don't take action on something, other people are going to repeat. It's a copycat.
Elvis, 1 minute, 30 seconds.
All right, thank you. Look, this is why we say your personal behavior matters. When people say, oh, this is private. If a person is a predator, if you do a background check and you realize this person is a predator, they like to prey on young people. If they have little money or they have little influence, they like to abuse it, and have illicit sex with young people. And then you put them in a position of power, which is going to, enable them to even become more predatory. That's proper vetting. And looking at a person's personal life is important, because when they come into a public, position of trust and power, it only amplifies their personality. So the individual, people don't rape for the first time in their late years, or these are pattern of behavior. In America, they call it grooming. People who befriend young people with the aim of eventually, having some sexual relationship with that young person, either when they reach the age of majority, or even in the age, even when they're minors. So when we are talking about these kind of behaviors, because no, it's private, because some people, not to cast any expression, they are friends with some of these people, or they themselves may exhibit some of these behaviors in their own personal life. So they don't like these things to be brought to the forefront because it's uncomfortable for them. We as Liberians, we have to shame these people, name and shame them, that these behaviors are unacceptable, let alone people who are serving us as public servants and who we should trust, our kids and our other, friends and family being around them. So I think it was well placed for us to discuss it. But thank you for having me on. It was a great show tonight.
Thank you. And I still think that, and that's why we are all the topics listed. What I'm tying them to is the political culture. I mean, we see people even go to the Senate, and whatever they have done, nobody cares. They are still confirmed. Even if any issue come up, I still remember when the current foreign minister went there were issues that she graduated from. She had a master before bachelor. None of these things matter. Somebody go there and they talk complete nonsense. We still, why aren't we vetting people? Why aren't we taking character into consideration? If we're supposed to be this Christian nation that is talking all the time, praying, we have how many fasts and prayer a year? But yet when it comes to people quality, they say, oh, no, we shouldn't talk it because it's not in the Constitution. Anyway, let me. We are 39 minutes over. So let's have half a minute for each of you to give your closing. Let's go counterclockwise from Dr. Pearson all the way to Mr. C. You have 30 seconds closing, Dr. Pearson.
Thank you, Dennis. I think in closing, I will say thanks to all of you for the show tonight and to our listening and viewing audience. Listen, look, we need honesty back in our country. We need people of integrity. And when we talk about honesty, people of integrity, exemplary lifestyle, it boils down to even the thing we're talking about, the cool man himself. We're talking about a representative. For me, he's not a speaker. For me, Kun is never going to be speaker in my book. He will be speaker in the history book, but not in my book, right? His sentence to the power was at the detriment of the constitutional rule in Liberia. So I don't recognize him, and I don't give him any level of credence. Let me put it that way. It goes back to the same thing. And then in closing, I would say on my last point, when it comes to LEC, I think we need leadership. And leadership will transcend beyond us being reactionary and become, preventative in our approach to leadership. Stop things from happening. Not waiting like election commission. They went into the lock on the gate also before they want to go handle their own issue, right? Why these things keep happening? Bad leadership from 40 years experience.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes.
Remember, 30 seconds closing.
Yeah, I enjoy your show. I remember one thing Dr. Pearson said. He said he remember when he was small. And when you take one little thing he carried home, it would say, let's go back to where you got that thing from. When will we make integrity and honesty center stage once more again? We want to, that's the only way we would get back to where we were like that. Before you wouldn't even holler at a police officer before you talk about fight one. So we have a way back, but it has to be done through institutions. And once we start making sure our institutions are imbibing the best character to our people, then we will see changes being made.
Thank you. Evis.
Yes, I think we have to look for people who know why. And I keep saying it sounds philosophical, but those people who know why will always lead those who know how. And if we don't know why, it's important to name and shame abusers, name and shame incompetent people, name and shame people who are, ill repute, and don't have the right character in their personal life, and we send them to lead us in another position. We will always be doomed to bring people like the Nambwe Coons and those other people who are sodomizing and raping young people in our country. So we need a leader who knows why. Thank you.
Thank you. Alice?
Well, I think, the show was a great show tonight, and everybody spoke well. I want to touch on two things, which is the LEC issue. Security is very important, and I think the issue of LEC should be something that should claim the attention of the national leadership. And responsibility also comes in. If you are the head of LEC, you got to make sure to pay your bills. That's being responsible for the entity and knowing the very important role that electricity play in a nation. That should be a priority. On the issue of the Kumpa, everybody is entitled to their opinion. If any issue comes on the social media, those are all opinions. We look at videos, we look at posting, and we make our own analysis and come up with conclusions. That's public opinion. So you cannot hold anybody for what they think is going on, because we haven't done any DNA to know whether people are related, and we don't know the nature of the kind of marriages that we're talking about. And the speaker has not come to make any clarification because he thinks it belongs in a court, and I think so that it belongs in a court. So I made my opinion on that. And we want to ask people, yes, Mandela Cooper can be brought on the show to see whether she's married to Mr. Kong. And, you know, you want to bring Mrs. Pod, that's fine. You can also bring her, because it's important that the questions that need to be asked are asked so that the issue will be brought to close. But I think going on social media and debating all the issue, for me, is just waste of time.
Thank you. Mr. Sear.
Yeah, then we are at a crossroad. Nationally speaking, we lost our values. Integrity is no longer in our mouth, in our hearts, in our minds. Honesty has disappeared a long time ago. And our leaders have ordained that. Our leaders have perpetrated that. Our leaders are trading that. It's like a catalyst for our leaders, you know, to survive politically, you know, and enjoy power. So if we want to make a change, our leaders need to see that integrity, our values, and honesty, these are the values they must stand on as they provide leadership in all our institutions. And we are fathers and mothers and leaders in every community, in any sphere. We must cultivate these values and instill them. When we don't do that, we can get $20 billion, that money, half of it will be stolen. Nothing will be done. Because if you're not honest, you will do a terrible job. You know, you will croak the person you're working for, and quality work will not be done. If you're not honest, you will not even be a good cleaner, you know, at the office. The office will not be clean and say, oh, I'm done, you know, because people don't value, you know, the essence of work. I think that's where we need to look. Thank you.
On that note, we're going to close. I want to thank you all very much for your participation. Sorry I've kept you 45 minutes longer than I thought I would, but it's all for the benefit of Mama Liberia. Thank you very much for your time. I want to thank our viewers, even those who will watch later. Until then, we close with a song that says, whether you believe everything that we have discussed is private matter or public matter, we are all Liberians. Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.